Hello, good evening.
Hello. Coming to you tonight from the frozen tundra of Michigan.
It's not that cold yet.
Okay, it's going down to 27 tonight.
That's freezing.
That's below freezing technically.
But it's a harbinger of what's to come.
It's a harbinger of things to come.
It is.
Ooh.
Hello.
This is my dearest, one of my oldest friends. Not that you're old.
But indeed I am.
But I have known her. I met her when I was 18 years old.
True.
And at Chatham College, where she matriculated a bit later in life, than she's a few years older than I am, to finish her degree as I was doing my own. And we met in the quadrangle of the school, and I looked up and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to know her for the rest of my life.
And that's true.
I mean, and voila, here we go. It's rest of your life stuff. A lot of my friends in Michigan know Cass because she has come to a number of events with me, even though she doesn't believe in any of the hocus pocus stuff that's going on.
And I don't call it hocus pocus.
No, and she doesn't.
No,
I'm calling it that. She's not saying those words.
No.
And yet, it's interesting in this time, Tony, as we've talked about in the past on the show, that we've got to find a way to agree to disagree in a way that is healthy, wholesome, and healing for everyone.
Could not agree more.
So I'm convinced personally that someday she's going to see something so wild that she's going to turn to me and say, Annie, you were right all along.
See,
and if I don't live to see that, my life will somehow be unfulfilled. And yet I will love her to the end.
But I don't see this as being about disagreement.
And it's really not.
It's really not. It's just that, first, I've never had the experiences that so many of you talk about having had. That's for sure. I haven't. The other part is, though, that this is a leap of faith, it seems to me, that many people take who haven't had the experience and yet who really believe that the experiences you had
are real,
are true and real. And how could I possibly dispute that? I can't, nor can I find fault with my friends who are religious. Belief is that kind of deal. It's not a disagreement. It's something very different than that.
It is.
You go your way, and and I don't.
Go my way.
And I don't.
Yeah, and please don't cut my head off for not believing what you believe.
Absolutely not.
Which is the history of humanity, and that's part of what we're going to talk about tonight. Mm-hmm. And Tony, please feel free to stay involved in this conversation, because I think it's a very important conversation to have. And joining us tonight is Jeff Turner, who I dragged to the UFO Con. I made that happen for him to appear there in September. And he blew everyone away. He got up on that stage and he blew everyone away with what he said, how he expressed himself, what we talked. I mean, it was big picture stuff. It was intense. It was beautiful. I was transfixed by every word he said. And I thought tonight, and he's here tonight. Yes, he's going to come up on the screen any moment. This is technology.
I'm looking forward.
21st century. That's Jeff.
Hello, Jeff.
How you doing, Jeff?
You're muted. Your mic.
You're muted.
Nope, still.
Nope, still muted. Click the little icon on your picture on the bottom. Click the mic. And it'll unmute you.
Well, Jeff, I have to tell you, you just missed a really fabulous introduction. Or maybe you could hear it. We can't hear you, but I hope you heard the very nice things Annie had to say about you.
He was marvelous.
Well, that's what I'm hearing.
Marvelous.
I think he's still muted. Yep. You're still muted, Jeff. Just click the the cam mic button on the bottom. Make sure that go to audio. Make sure that you didn't change anything and that your mic is the one on your headphones. And there should be a availability to mute it or unmute it there as well.
Okay.
Let me see if I can unmute him. No.
Okay. All right. So what do you want? What do you want to do, Tony? Do you want me to, just, make us big screen and you guys,
Sure.
Yeah. Or if it's not going to work, Bill said he can call in. He can call.
Okay.
Do you see where it's?
All right. Let me put you guys on full screen and,
Okay.
Jeff, why don't you text me or message me the way we were communicating before? All right. All right. The show is yours.
Oh, but you know what? Really? We can do this.
Well,
Suddenly the show is ours. It's something I think that the universe probably wanted to happen. And so because Jeff was fine in the pre-check. We had it down and now he's gone. Okay. So, one of the things, we're going to go back a little bit, a few decades.
okay.
And one of the things that Cass and I had immediately in common was a love of philosophy. We took logic together with Dr. Susan Nicholson. We took, did we take Eastern philosophy? We had
A number of things.
a number of classes, and also, I do believe, abnormal psychology. That was fun.
Well, Chatham was a wonderful place to go. It was a small women's college.
Yeah.
Small classes, wonderful interactions with the professors. That was life changing. I think for everyone who well, college is, but that was a special place back in the late 70s and early 80s with that second wave of feminism, if you will, which informed a lot of what we were reading in philosophy and looking at things in a different way. And questioning. I mean, but of course that always goes on when you're going to school, if you're doing it right.
If you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you come away with more questions than answers, but it forces you to think in new and unusual ways.
It does. And then for several years, Annie, I was in other parts of the country and we weren't in touch. But then when she began to write her trilogy, she actually began to write that shortly after we reunited, and our relationship has been constant since then. I've always known her family, and it's been wonderful to be back in close touch with them. So here we are in Ann Arbor. Annie comes a couple of times a year, several actually.
Usually,
because there are a whole lot of people here in Michigan who are interested in what she has to say. Happily, that brings her to my house. And so here we are. And when she said, would you do this? I said, well, yeah, but, I don't know what I can bring to the table except to say, wow, that must be exciting that you saw that, but I haven't. Mm-hmm. And well, we can talk more about what I see as our need as human beings to try and answer the unanswerable questions, like what's the point? Why are we here? Who's in charge? And often we look outward for someone to be in charge, someone else to be, and I actually just think we're kind of on our own here. And if we live to the potential of, I don't know, wherever evolution takes us, maybe it'll all work out. We'll see. But,
More likely not.
well, you know, everything has a lifespan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so there it is in a nutshell today.
Okay, so one of the things that
Was it
Cass and I,
rambling?
no, that was great. You did great. One of the things that Cass and I have talked about at length is what I do in terms of the way that I put myself out spiritually, as well as what my experiences have been. And we've talked a lot about atheism being a belief system as well. Atheism being the belief that God does not exist, that we're all on our own. We have evolved into this. And if we don't figure out a way to fix it, we're not going to evolve much longer, because we'll pretty much wipe ourselves out or kill the planet that we live on. And that's where we're going as humanity, which is kind of the crux of, you know, my own personal nightmares. It's what keeps me going. My belief that this all has to be for some purpose and reason. And that is a belief. That is, if I have a belief system.
What's the purpose? What's the reason?
I don't know. It makes me feel better.
Yes.
It makes me feel better.
Yes, indeed.
To believe that this isn't just a crapshoot, that, you know, that a flood that ripped through Tennessee killed my great niece, all of 7 years old, for some greater purpose or reason. Oh, please.
No.
You know, that it's not just.
No, there
that
isn't.
It's not just.
There isn't a reason, though.
That it rained too much. Is that the reason, that it rained too much?
What I'm saying
and got caught in a mountain gully?
All I'm saying is that Lucy wasn't singled out.
No, she wasn't. She was one of 22.
No, but she's one of how thinking of the world as this huge place. And there are disasters everywhere. And it's not retribution, and it's not guidance from anywhere to like shape up, or this is the worst is going to. I don't really believe that. I don't believe that. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, in higher power. Okay, great. Okay.
What?
I'm reading my notes on the side of. I'm sorry.
Oh, I can't see.
I'm not the most professional host tonight.
But we're doing the best we can.
We are. We're doing the best we can.
I don't know.
Okay, so, all right, so, hi, Tony.
Hello.
What's going on with Jeff?
He is going to call in, so we gave him the number to the station, and we won't have his video, but we'll hopefully have his voice here shortly.
Good, very good. Let us know. All right, so we're talking about belief systems and atheism and agnostic, you know, people who are agnostic, who don't claim to believe one thing over another thing.
You know how I feel about that. I just don't, I don't have the answer. So I would absolutely not call myself an atheist, because I don't have any, given the model of the Christian God and all that sort of thing, no, I don't believe that. I think that's part of the mythologies we create to answer those big questions. But is there some omnipotent, I don't have a clue. I think it's unlikely, but I would not say that I know. Do you know what I mean? That makes me an agnostic.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It would.
I don't know.
I completely understand your point of view. 12 years ago, when people would talk about paranormal activity, I was in the same boat. I didn't believe any of it until my wife took me investigating, and I started to see it, hear it, feel it for myself. It was that personal experience of it that changed my outlook on what I thought about it.
I totally get that.
Right.
But see, that's not happened for me. That's never happened. Yeah.
Right. Totally understand. But it's the same thing about religious beliefs. I mean,
Exactly.
the whole point of religion is that you're supposed to believe without having any experience of it. And that's hard. That's hard to do. It is. Human beings.
But people, Tony, who believe rely on the sightings, if you will, the interactions of others with saints and Mary and so forth. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, in a sense, at arm's length, they have that kind of that's what they rely on. It's
Right.
different, but somewhat in the same vein, I think. Anyway,
Yep.
I digress.
No, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why I felt such a really strong calling to become an ordained minister. It certainly wasn't because I was looking forward to marrying people. I haven't married anyone. I don't really intend to marry anyone. That's not what it was. It was about a calling to service, a calling to help humanity in a different way. And through all of especially the first 12 months of the COVID fiasco, I felt particularly drawn to be of service in that way. But I'll tell you, it hasn't changed anything at all about my outlook on life. I don't know anything more than I knew before. And it's not an epiphany. It's an urgency. It's a calling. It's a need. Step in, step up, help out, and, be there for other people, in a way that is, ultimately helpful and more than anything comforting. So
Absolutely. I agree.
But Cass thinks that maybe there's a kind of like a religion growing up around what I do, and particularly around the UFOs. And we've talked about that as well, because the way that I interact with people around that subject,
That's interesting. Go ahead.
has made her draw some comparisons. And I think, rightfully so. It made me look at it as almost a religious following.
Well, here's what
I don't want.
Well, here's what I bring to my talking with you about this.
Mm-hmm.
I've known you for a long time, and one of the things I know about you
is I'm preachy.
Well, there's that, but you also have
cigarette.
an extensive background in working on the stage.
Yes,
you were good on the stage.
Thank you, honey.
Truly, and that you can see that in your presentations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they are made even more important to people because of the fact that, you're not reading anybody else's lines. You're not, what's her name in Annie? What role did you own in Annie?
Oh.
What was her name?
Oh, I can't.
Well, whatever.
Yeah. That was my role.
She had a little, a following.
I had,
but that stage presence added with the fact that you believe what you're talking about moves people. And I think anyone who can move people and influence people, I think anyone needs to be careful of what they do with that kind of influence. Anyway.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Because a lot of people are searching, and you don't want to mess with them.
Right.
You don't want to mess with
right.
them. And I don't believe you do.
No, I don't. And I've said it 1,000 times. Anybody who's ever heard me speak knows that I say, I'm not here to convince anyone of anything. Not, you want to hear?
No, thank you.
No, okay. I'm just taking a couple. Oh, all right.
Well, this is
I can't read that. Hold on.
Yes. Do we have audio?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
welcome.
I'm not sure what happened. I tried to call into and I just got a busy signal. So I'm
But here you
so
are.
sorry, guys.
It's
Here you
okay. Universal House.
Yeah.
Here we
We
go.
can hear you.
Okay, good. Well, I feel like I missed a lot.
Well, not really.
We were waiting for you.
We were really
Okay.
kind of stalling around waiting for you, sweetheart. But what we did review is the fact that Cass and I have known each other for more than 4 decades, that we have gone to college together and shared a great, rich, and long history. And philosophically, we differ. And so earlier today, when I said, Cass, do my show with me tonight. Let's talk about this. Erin. So, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the fact that, even atheism can be a divine idea. Even, people who, kind of middle of the road, agnostic. I don't know this. I don't know that. I don't know anything.
I don't
so
like that.
I'm
That's not middle of the road.
Well, no, it's not middle of the
Okay,
road. But
go ahead.
anyway,
Go ahead.
so I told her a little bit of your background and your history, Jeff. So if you could, refresh the memories of those who might not have seen you several months ago on the show and bring people up to speed. And then we're going to talk about God, yes or no.
For sure. Okay. I'm still coming through, correct? You can hear
Yes.
me. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
I apologize
Yeah,
for
good.
all of that. And so from here on out, we're good, I hope. Okay. Well, my name is Jeff Turner, as you've been told. I was a pastor for 12 years. I grew up in an evangelical home, a moderate evangelical, not the sort of radical evangelical we all see and sort of loathe today. But I took it to that level. What was handed to me, which was a more moderate and mild version, I took and I absolutely radicalized. And I think that's because I just have a radical personality. I have an extreme personality. If I think something's real, I'm not going to just tinker with it. I'm going to give it my all in order to test if it actually is real, And so, when I was young, I had something of a conversion experience in my teenage years, and I became just radically lit up, for lack of a better term. And when I was a teenager, I was praying 8 to 12 hours a day. I was trying to fast every other day. I carried that into my 20s and into my early marriage years. I became a pastor when I was 21 and wasn't quite ready for everything that comes with being a pastor, because there's a lot more than giving Sunday morning messages. I mean, you're forced into the role of a counselor when you don't have any experience in that world. You're forced into dealing with grief on a level that you're just not prepared for. And, all of that just coupled with the inexperience and the intense spiritual pressure that I was under. A few years in, I'd say maybe 5-6 years in, I really began to have kind of a crisis of faith. I was really buckling under the weight of all of this stuff. And so the first step was I kind of discovered a more gracious version of God. I discovered that, my tradition's not the only tradition. There were Christians before evangelicals. There were Christians before Pentecostals 100 years ago. Who would have thought? But I discovered that there's whole other traditions that I had never discovered. And so I began to explore those, and I discovered a more gracious version of God who let me ask questions, who is okay with my struggles, who is okay with me not being the 8 to 12 hours a day prayer guy, and so I learned how to rest a little bit in that version of God. I learned how to relax and to chill out a little bit and to enjoy life a little bit. And then I learned that I could ask questions. And so I started to ask questions. And some of the first questions were about hell, because I had young kids at the time. My daughter, I remember her asking me about hell when she was about 4 years old. And I felt obligated to give her the canned answer that I had been trained to give, I felt very uncomfortable. That was one of my first ever checks where I was just like, oh shit, I can't tell this to my daughter and feel like I'm a good person. but I felt like if I didn't tell her this, I was not a good person. So there was this friction and dissonance I started to experience. And so I started to allow myself to ask questions, and I did. And I started to do a lot of studying into church history, alternative, theological viewpoints. And soon a lot of my, the views that kind of bound me to Christianity, they started to dissolve, and they didn't dissolve from the outside, they dissolved from the inside. It was my faith. It was Christianity that dissolved it, not it wasn't any outside force. It all happened from within. But as those things started to dissolve, then the whole structure started to dissolve. And so for a season, while pastoring, I was, for all suits and purposes, an atheist. And that was very difficult. And I know it was difficult because I'm just not a dishonest person. I really try to be a person of integrity. I never got up behind a pulpit and said something I didn't mean. And so in times like that, when I'm struggling with faith and I'm also having to get up and preach, I'm finding ways to do it where I don't have to go against my integrity. You know what I mean? You learn to preach apophatically, which is, negative theology, which is you learn how to teach this is what God is not, rather than cataphatically, which is saying this is what God is. I couldn't say anything affirmative about God at the time because I wasn't sure that God was. But I was sure that if maybe God actually was not, then he certainly was not these things we'd been taught that he was, which is keeping all these people in bondage. So I could teach people how to deconstruct the notion of hell. I could teach people how to deconstruct the notion of what's called penal substitutionary atonement, which is kind of like a divine child abuse doctrine where God abuses himself in order to appease himself so that we can all be free if we would say the magical prayer. So I could teach people how to deconstruct those ideas, but I was having a hard time saying a yes to anything. And that was a very difficult season of life. It was very, very difficult. I did eventually come to a place where I found something like faith again. But it was very transformed. It wasn't what I had before. And it's something that I hold, much more loosely than I held the thing before. And, that was now, I left the pastorate, 6 years ago now, or maybe I think it's 7 years ago actually. And, I still work in teaching in churches and conferences and things like that. But, I have a radically different approach to God and to Christianity and to faith now compared to what I had then. And I love what I have now. And what I had then was killing me. What I have now is beautiful and it's inclusive and I can open my arms to anybody and everybody. And what I had before turned me into this sort of rotten little zealot who, drew lines in the sand and said, you're in, you're out. I'm in, of course, but you're out. It just made me miserable. It made everyone within 100-mile radius of me miserable. And it was killing me. And I don't think I would have survived. I literally don't think I would have survived another 2 years in that mindset. It was so crippling, so exhausting, detrimental to my mental, physical health. I don't know that I would have made it. I don't know. I don't even necessarily know what I'm saying when I say that, but I don't think I would have made it. My marriage certainly would not have made it. God only knows what my relationship would be like with my kids right now because I would have poisoned them against me. But all the while I knew better. All the while inside I was a better person than my faith allowed me to be. But I was possessed by that ideology. And yes, Cassandra, were you going to say something? Yes.
I was going to ask Jeff, how would you describe your Christian experience now, your relationship to Christianity? How has it changed since the old days for you?
Yeah.
Not just being, a broader, more inclusive, all that stuff, but your relationship with Christ, if you will, the church, and so forth.
Sure. Well, it was, like I said, it was originally Christianity that deconstructed some of the beliefs that were keeping me bound to that certain form of Christianity. And then what I found myself doing was I found myself becoming almost the same person that I was when I was in Christianity, outside of Christianity. The same kind of radical black and white binary thinking, You know what I mean? As far as, how can you believe that way? Whatever. I was kind of becoming the mirror image of myself. I was at the opposite end of the canoe now, but I was still in the same canoe, and I was going to tip the thing eventually. I mean, I thought I left it. I felt like I left it, but I really was just now on the opposite side of things. And, so I discovered the work of Slavoj Žižek. I'm not sure if you're familiar with his work at all. He's a Slovenian philosopher and atheist himself. And I discovered his work. And in his work, he talks about Christianity being the truest form of atheism. And I was at first like, this is stupid. What are you talking about? But the more I listened, the more it made sense to me, because for me, my God concept, it had to be, there's a lot to unpack here, and I don't want to prattle on and on and on forever. But
no, Jeff, get into it, because that's why we're doing this.
Christianity is what, the purest form of atheism?
Yeah, and that's his contention. That's Zizek's contention, and he uses the work of G.K. Chesterton, the Catholic theologian, where he talks about Christianity being the only religion in which omniscience makes God impotent, because he says, as long as God is omniscient and omnipotent and omnipresent, there will always be one thing God's not able to be. And omnipotence is supposed to mean he's everything. But if he can't let go of his power, he can never be all powerful, because there will always be one thing he's not able to do, which is let go of power. And so he says that on the cross, when Jesus experiences the sensation of being abandoned by God, and he cries out the line from Psalms 22:1, my God, why have you forsaken me? That God for himself becomes an atheist for a moment. He also uses the book of Job, where Job loses everything, right? He experiences trial after trial after trial, trauma after trauma after trauma, and his 3 theological friends come along and try to convince him that he did something to deserve this. And then God comes along and gives this seemingly pompous and bombastic speech where he just goes on and on and on and on and on, chapter after chapter, talking about, were you there when I laid the foundations of the earth, and blah, blah, blah. And the way that's traditionally interpreted is that God's basically saying, who are you to question me? Look what I made. You weren't there. Kind of just shut up. But how Chesterton interpreted this was that God himself was like, you think you're confused? Look, I made this place and I can't even explain it. That God himself was actually confessing that his own creation was all sorts of jacked up and askew. And again, Chesterton said, for a moment, we see God himself becoming an atheist. And so Zizek works with that thought, and he talks about he calls it the what does he call it? It's the perverse inward subversive nature of Christianity, where it subverts itself. And that was what I found happening in me. It was my Christianity that was deconstructing itself. And the point was, I think there's a Western system that, whether it's the atheistic version of it or the fundamentalist religious version of it, it looks very similar. They really look the same. Not on the surface, not the things they're saying, not the things they're confessing. But if you zoom in and kind of look at the idiosyncrasies and the behavior patterns, they're very much the same. They're two ends of a binary system, right? And so the answer isn't moving from one side to the other. The answer is you got to have the whole thing blown up from the inside. And Christianity is kind of wired to do that to itself, is what Zizek teaches. That in Christianity, God forsakes God. God says, I've been forsaken of God. And at that point, the system kind of crumbles in on itself. You tip the canoe by moving back and forth, going from this end to the other, and then the canoe tips. And then you find yourself treading water, and you think you're dying and you're going down, but you realize you've actually been liberated, because now you're free from the binary system and you can swim your way to a whole new world. And that's kind of, what happened to me, was that I was stuck in the binary system. And so I ran to the more radical side of atheism and deconstructionism, kind of radical, deconstructive philosophy, Derridian philosophy and stuff, which I still love. But I ran to that end, and then I ran back to the other end and back to the other end. And eventually the whole system just fell apart on me. And I was like, oh crap, I'm dead. I screwed myself. I should have never poked holes in the holy or asked those questions, because now what am I going to do? But then I realized, oh my God, this is the opportunity for me to escape to a whole new way of being. It was kind of like, I used The Truman Show, if you've ever seen the movie The Truman Show with Jim Carrey. So his whole life has been a reality television show, and he's the only one who's not in on the joke. And the whole world has watched him from birth to where he is now in his mid-30s or middle age. And he starts to question the nature of his reality. He sees these little glitches in the matrix, if you will. And so eventually he becomes convinced that what he thinks is real isn't real, and he's got to get out of here. And so he gets on a boat and tries to sail to Fiji, despite the fears that the creators of the show have sort of seeded him with all of his life, that the water is dangerous. He gets so fed up that he tries to sail to freedom. And on his quest towards freedom, the creator of the show literally tries to kill him by generating a storm and keeping him from escaping. And he overcomes the creator. And then he finds himself just exhausted, laying on the deck of his ship. The sun is shining, and he's sailing into what he thinks are open seas and open skies. And then he crashes into the sky because he realizes what he thought was endless potential was actually just the end of the studio that he mistook for reality. And so at that point, he exits for real. And I think a lot of times, this is where I got stuck. Yeah, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
No, that could be. Mm-hmm. You see, we really don't know. We don't know. We don't know.
We don't know if our entire,
we don't even know any.
Yeah.
Our entire universe is something floating around in a test tube in a lab somewhere.
Jeff, doesn't that pose a really, just mind-blowing question?
It absolutely does.
When he runs into the wallpaper at the end of the studio.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's really going on here? What's really going on here?
Yeah. No, yeah.
And my position is, I don't have a clue.
Yeah. I think that's the honest position.
We have the capacity to question.
Mm-hmm.
We have the capacity to, as you just, that was
so
excellent, by the way. Thank you for that. We have the capacity to do this, but we have no capacity compared to what the potential is for what we will know.
Yeah.
If we survive.
Mm-hmm.
Look that's why I don't plant my feet on one side or the other. I don't know.
Yeah.
You could be as right as rain and the other guy completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I truly don't believe that Christianity business, though. I just don't.
Yeah.
I just think that's just those old men wrote stories that scared the bejesus out of most people. Really, what a way to make a point.
Yeah.
Turn your wife to salt. What a way to make a point.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody had an argument before he wrote that story. Yeah.
But Jeff, on the other hand, I truly mean this when I say I really do mean this. If that's where your belief takes you, bless you. Go in peace, truly.
Yeah. Well, where mine took me was it really is radically different. Like, cause with the studio illustration, I got stuck in the mode where I thought being on the ship and fighting God, fighting the creator, if you will, of the show, I thought that was my new position. You know what I mean? Like I'm now against that system and I'm free, damn it. You know what I mean? That's what I thought. Like I'm free now. Yeah. But when I hit the wall is when I realized, I'm still in it,
Jeff, it sounds like that was a prison you were in.
You were
praying I can't. That's prison.
I literally wore grooves in the carpet in my parents' basement from pacing back and forth in prayer. Yeah.
That is abuse. Mm-hmm. That is abuse.
Yeah.
Something was abusing you.
Yeah.
And there's the question, isn't it?
Yeah. And whether they were conscious of it or not, you know what I mean? The good thing is my parents they're stellar examples of what a good Christian is, even within that system that I'm now at odds with. But I aligned myself with forces and factions within that. That I would oh my God, if my kids ever got involved with,
we are led to self-abuse with that kind of pressure, pressure.
Well, if you believe,
perfect or whatever it was.
Yeah. Well, if you believe you're born tainted with original sin.
Oh, and isn't that horrible?
Yep. And then you believe, well, once you get saved, then Jesus kind of takes it away, but you got to do this daily maintenance or it's going to, and when you have that, it's so stupid now on the other side of it to think that thought ever made sense to me. But it was given to me before I was able to make sense of anything. Sorry. Yes, go ahead.
No, but it's not stupid. It's really not.
It's not.
All I can tell you is you survived.
Mm-hmm.
You survived.
Good on you. And what you're talking about with people is important.
It is. And in order to have these kinds of conversations, in order for people to hear, for lack of a better phrase, your confession of your early life as a Christian, in such a public setting.
It's and that's what happens when we tell our stories, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is.
Because we
bare our souls, because we've all got something.
That can teach someone.
But it serves such an important purpose for you to reach out to people the way that you do. Your lecture, I mentioned at the beginning, you did not hear the glowing things that I said about you, but
they were very nice.
You can repeat them if you'd like. No, I'm just kidding.
But you really blew everybody away at UFO contact. And that's another thing that I want to talk about tonight. But I just want to acknowledge that I appreciate how forthcoming you are about your experience, because in the same way that I have been, it liberates others to speak their truth.
Yeah.
Something that they might have held in. And, you were being eaten alive. You were supposedly brought to this earth to live, and then you were sacrificing your life to a belief system that you weren't even old enough yet to have formed in your mind in terms of what it meant in the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And so you were in prison, but you also liberated yourself. You held the key. And I think that's amazing. Now, my belief system is just a little different. And where are you going? Where are you going? Okay.
But I'll be right here.
Okay. Could you get me some Coke?
Yes.
Oh, thanks. Okay. All right. Listen, because Jeff is really brilliant. Okay. All right.
You can see me.
I can see you. Okay. So the only way, and I do mean this sincerely. Oh, Tony's back to bail me out should things get hairy here. This is good. No, it's good. The only way that the Immaculate Conception, that the three wise men, that the baby in the stable, that all of that could have conceivably happened according to the way the story is told. Could you back off?
All right,
Bitch, man. I love her, but I'm going to have to kill her. The only way that makes any sense to me is that the baby Jesus was implanted and was delivered and was a gift to this world. The astronomers proved long ago there was absolutely nothing in the night sky that would have shed the kind of light that would have led the three kings from Orient to the baby Jesus. It's just not real if that's the way that it happened. I think if it happened, and it could conceivably have happened, was another way. It's plausible to me that Jesus was a member of the galactic family, an extraterrestrial that was sent to this earth to change human hearts and minds, and left an imprint, left a mark. Jesus Christ left a mark on humanity and a message behind that, when lived up to in its purest form, is light and love. That's the message. Light and love. That's it.
Yeah.
And, thank you. And for me, that makes perfect sense. And yet there are some people that would hear me say, they go, oh, wow, she's taking this UFO thing a little bit too far. It can't be God. Well, maybe it is God.
Well,
maybe they are God. Maybe they are what we think of as God. What?
You're extraterrestrial. is somebody, you know what, this is all, they're extraterrestrial.
And now we're coming back full circle to the notion that maybe what I'm doing in ufology, if, you know, for lack of a better term, I did that way before that was a term, that maybe it's, and there are people that are working in this field, that are kind of religiousizing. That's not a word. And yet Susan says, amen, Andrea. Religiousizing is not a word. But you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, on one hand, what's more far-fetched, I suppose? I mean, you know what I mean? That Mary is divinely inseminated by a non-corporeal entity, or that there is, you know what I mean? Or that there is intelligent life elsewhere. I mean, I'm not claiming belief in anything. I'm just saying, I mean, on one hand, why should that notion seem that far out when you compare it to what is actually believed, you know? I mean,
yes. Yes.
And at the end of the day, if we take from the story, regardless of the scaffolding that upholds it, what we call it, whether we call it God, extraterrestrials, whatever, as long as we get from it what's meant to be gotten from it, which, as you said, is love and light, however one understands that and lives that out, I don't really, you know, ultimately, does that matter, you know?
Yeah.
How one understands the workings of it. Yes.
But I go back to why we have to ascribe this kind of influence over our lives to something else, and not see that no matter what, this is where it happens. It starts and it ends here. Sure. Within ourselves and as we interact with one another. And I don't have to give that power away in order to feel the magic, actually, kind of being a human being and being a good human being. I don't have to rely on anything's approval or affirmation. Other people, sure, we all do that, but not outside my realm of understanding. Do you know what I mean, Jeff?
Absolutely.
Every sign should be in Taurus. That has how firmly my feet are planted on the ground, kind of.
Well, and I guess for me too, that's what Christianity, that's what I ended up extracting from Christianity, is that in the story of Jesus, if one takes it from the traditional theological view of it, what happens is this move that's called kenosis by the Apostle Paul, where God empties God's self and becomes human. And in becoming human, becomes fully God. And radical theologians such as Thomas Altizer, whose theology was sort of a response to the Nietzschean idea of the death of God, he came up with this radical notion that's called radical theology, that God essentially, when he becomes human, it's like, it's a forward movement, but it looks like a transgression, because God just becomes humanity. And God is now dissolved and lost in the collective, and that we no longer have the big other out here to which we are enslaved and must look. Now we look to the collective to find God, because that's how God has disseminated God's self. And it's like, even if that's not literally true, it is an idea that can deconstruct that Western notion that most of us are all ensconced in. Because it's like the Matrix in the movie. You have to fight the Matrix from within, in a sense. And so sometimes these theological ideas, they have to be taken down by other ideas that can be extrapolated from the same tradition, you know? And so that's an idea that for me really, really helped to liberate me, and to find a sense of, okay, God is in me, God is in the collective out here. This is what it's about. It's not about me, you know, paying obeisance to some big other in the sky somewhere. It's, you know what I mean? It's about connecting with other people. Jesus even said, when 2 or 3 of you gather in my name, I'm there in the midst. What does that mean? If 2 or 3 of us get in a room, God's like, ooh, I can't resist this. I got to come and be a part of this. Or does it mean that when we're together as a group, that's what God is? You know, that when we're together, that's the notion. That's what we're looking for when we say the word God.
I hear you. I hear you. May I ask you this question?
Absolutely.
Jeff, where did you study?
I studied at a school called Brownsville School of Ministry that was in Pensacola, Florida, and then Global University, which is where I did most of my other stuff when I was a pastor, which was a part of the Assemblies of God denomination. So, and then a lot of it I've had to unlearn. And then a lot of what I'm talking about today has just been from books on my bookshelf. I didn't really learn any of this back then.
Well done. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
The thing that fascinates me most about this, just having this conversation, I got all excited about just having this conversation tonight. I did, because I think it's an important conversation to have. You know, everybody says, don't talk about politics or religion. Well, you know what? This part of life and the religious side of it, part of the reason that I've got to go back to UFOs for a moment, because it's amalgamating. It is becoming integrated into the philosophical conversation of life. At least it is in my very large circle of people, where this is something that's important and necessary to talk about and to explore. So that said, I have to revisit this notion that it is entirely plausible that we are somehow interrelated, that we are genetically predisposed to each other, that there is, if there is one God per se, what is sometimes referred to as the prime creator, that in the creation that it could have dispersed. But having this philosophical discussion is mind expanding. Mm-hmm. Having this conversation is forcing people who are listening to it to think beyond their own belief system and structure, even if it's just for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
It's still mind expanding, and a mind expanded does not contract. So that said, I think that it's important to look at some of what's happening around in the ufology community, where there are enclaves of people who are basically worshiping our star brothers and sisters, who think that, yes, we are part of them, they are us, we are one. I fall into that category. If they exist and they're sentient, prescient beings and they appear to be humanoid, then yes, somehow, I think it's entirely plausible that we are somehow integrated with them, whether it be genetically or in other ways. Did you see it across the screen again? Did you see the blue thing again?
I've seen it several times, actually. Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's in the room with us, which is freaking Cass out a little bit.
I'm not freaked out because I don't see it.
All right. She doesn't see it. Okay.
I like this lady.
Sees it, Cass.
There's no moth flying around.
What is it?
No, and it was here 3 times. It's blue.
There's no moth.
Blue. It's a blue orb.
There are no orbs.
Yes, dear, there are. I'll show it back to you. I will. Tony will clip it out for you.
Yeah, okay.
And before the show even started, it was all over the screen too. Yeah, we all saw it, but Cass did not. And then she's surprised that she doesn't see UFOs.
I don't.
Okay, so that being said, I think that the military industrial complex that we've all been warned about has intentions, and one of the intentions is to preserve their power at all cost. And so they are not going to disclose nor be a source of disclosure for us that is reliable or even credible, because of the amount of misinformation and disinformation that has been spread and fed to humanity for so long. So I consider us...
I think people would be scared to death.
People... What, do you? Really? Because I just don't think people would be.
I do. What, wouldn't it cause... Now, I'm not a fan of
the fracturing of belief systems is part of what I wanted to discuss tonight. The idea that should there be a mass coming, what has always been written about as the second coming, only it happened to be extraterrestrials in vessels not made on this earth. Should that happen, part of the fear, and this is all fear-based, is that it would just fracture belief systems all over the world, and that people rely so deeply on their belief systems to get through this thing called life that it would cause great harm. It would cause great harm for humanity. And so that is why part of the excuse why more information is not forthcoming as regularly as it should be about what our government knows about what they now call UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. But a UAP is a UFO cloaked, sheep in wolf's clothing or whatever. But it's the same thing, and they just don't want to tell us because they fear that there will be a shakeup in, the force, a disturbance in the force, a shakeup in the world banking system, a shakeup in the military industrial complex, a shakeup politically and geopolitically in every way, and also that it would fracture belief systems that are held by billions worldwide, and that it would create great harm and great disruption. And I just wanted your feedback on that, and Cass, also your feedback on that.
I would just say that if history is gives us any clue, it would, our response, even globally as human beings, would be to arm ourselves and resist with force. I mean, that is, if I'm even going to go along with this hypothesis, it's just, that is what history tells us. We're just not equipped. We have not evolved enough to even begin to sort out, I think, in any kind of peaceful way. We're just not, I just don't think we're there.
So maybe the contactees and the experiencers, the ones that have this happen, that make this contact, and then share about it, write about it, speak about it, share it, are the ones that slowly but surely chip away at this enormous granite boulder, one mind at a time, opening up at least the thought and the infinite possibilities that exist in an expanding universe.
Yeah,
and look at it that way. Look at it as, bigger picture. Yeah. What does this mean millennia from now? What does this mean? What we're experiencing now and what we're sharing. And you had an experience that you shared at Contact that left the room in silence. Nobody was breathing. It was completely silent in the room as you explained what you experienced. And I think that it serves great value, Jeff. It plants an image in people's minds. Is this real? Is this part of our reality? Are we looking at our old reality with new eyes? And are some of us privy to knowledge and information that we dare to share? What do you think about all of that?
Yeah, I mean, in one sense, it's almost like the 21st century iteration of the priest class versus the mystic. You know what I mean? And you always have the priest class who dons their robes and mumble to one another in shibboleths and, try to protect those they deem unable to grasp the Gnostic secrets. They try to bar others from accessing that stuff because they fear they can't handle it, right? And so even as a pastor, I saw that. It was like there were these theologically trained ministers who knew what the scriptures did and did not teach. And yet they did not believe people could handle that. And so they taught them what they knew was not true because it helped keep people in line better. Like, they knew that the doctrine of eternal conscious torment that we call hell is not nearly as clearly laid out in the Bible as 21st century evangelicalism would want for you to think, but they would preach it anyways because they thought if people didn't have that, they would live just wild, immoral lives. They'd all be out there snorting coke and doing God knows what because they don't think we're smart enough to handle it. They don't think we're moral enough to handle this without fear hanging over our heads. And so in some way, it's a modern iteration of that. Whatever is known, and clearly something is known. I mean, whatever that is. And I don't claim to be an expert in this field. I certainly don't have any inside knowledge, but there are clearly things that are known that are not being made known. And it's because we're not considered, strong enough or whatever. We can't handle what they know. We can't handle the truth, And so it's kept from us.
Do you think that's true, Jeff? Do you think that's true, Jeff? Do you think that a certain shielding, this is complicated. I totally get that. But what do you think? Do you think there's a certain point here?
I think there would certainly be death of God 2.0 sort of event that happened. Nietzsche prophesied accurately the death of God in the gay science, right? And the guy comes with a lantern proclaiming the death of God, and the sun's still out and he has a lantern, so he's arrived before his time because the individuals who killed God did not realize darkness was coming as a result of what they lost. They were just kind of gleefully celebrating the loss of a system. And maybe that system needed to fall, but they didn't realize how much they relied on it. You know what I mean? And so when it started eroding, they would feel that. So I think full disclosure wouldn't affect my experience one iota, but I've done a lot of work. You know what I mean? I've done a lot of inner work.
Exactly right. Exactly right. We're talking about rural Iowa.
And I don't.
Sure. You know what I'm saying?
We love all
right. I have Iowans that watch the show.
And
don't piss off the Iowans.
Perfectly fine. Just saying. Middle America, middle anywhere.
Yeah, no, for sure. I will say right up front, Team Iowa, we love you guys. I'm just kidding. But
Go Iowa.
But no, whatever. For sure. I do think it would devastate some people. I do. I think it would take some people's whole faith structure from them. Some people don't. I know people personally who do not think it possible that there could be other intelligent life in the universe and the biblical narrative still be true. And if the biblical narrative is not true, then for them, that's their whole world. So
I don't even know. Who can even address that?
Yeah. And
really, look what people are believing today, Jeff. Mm-hmm. Truly. Look what people are believing. Facts are, it's just craziness.
Yeah. But I do think, to what you said, Andrea, I think it's like what we saw in religion. There's the priest class, and they go behind the veil and they wave the censer of incense, and they're the magical guys in the fancy robes, and they know things the average Joe doesn't know. But then you got monks in caves who are just getting alone with themselves and with God and creation, and they're having experiences, and they're not ordained. They don't have the robe or the censer or the big hat, and they come out and they're telling people, hey, without a priest, without any intermediary, I accessed this. I had this experience. And then people are like, oh, you mean I don't need the intermediary? I don't need the guy in the funny hat with the THD and the PhD to let me in, and introduce me to whatever. I don't need that. And then that sparks reformations. That sparks revolutions where major shifts happen. And in this world as well, I think it's a similar thing. You'll have the priest class guarding the veil, not wanting anyone to see what's behind it. But the more people do share their experience, just at the conference alone, the people I talked to, I didn't know what to expect. This was my first event of that kind. I typically speak in churches or schools or conferences, and I didn't know what to expect. I was so blown away by the quality of person that I met. I met people who were, professionals in all areas of life, very well educated, smart people. One individual in particular who I talked with, I had brilliant conversations with this guy. We've corresponded through email quite a few times. I even brought the next day I brought him a book that I was toting around with me, Young's book on UFOs, which a lot of people don't know exists, and it's a great read. And
it's a great read.
It's fantastic. And we had a great conversation, and this guy's kind of like, I don't know if any of this is true. That guy might be a nut. That guy might be a nut for all I know. He's like, but I had an experience that I can't deny. And so I'm here, and I go to things like this just to try to make sense of it, And so a guy like that, when he hears other level-headed, well-rounded people who had crazy experiences that they can't explain, that validates him. That makes him feel like he's not crazy, like he can share his story. And, it puts a dent in that power structure of the priest class, because it's just, you have average Joe who's having the same experience these guys claim only they can have, or whatever. And right. I think it's incredibly important. And at one point in my life, I would have never understood. I did not understand the importance of such things, but I do now. And I agree with you 100%. The more people talk about what happened, even if they talk about it while saying, I'm not saying this is this, that, or the other. I have no idea what I saw or what I experienced, but I did see and experience this. That alone could set someone free,
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I wonder, though, Jeff, talking about the priestly class and so forth, there will always be leaders. And
a hierarchy.
I'm looking at something. I'm listening to you, my friend.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you've got a foundation in education and the ability to talk about some big concepts here, even throw in some big words that actually, in their context, we can understand, even though I hadn't heard them before. Thank you for that. What I'm saying is that leaders will emerge, and it is up to leaders to hold back and not see themselves as anything other than it being able to articulate what the point is in this search. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
That's actually a really good point, and it brings me back to a word you said. I don't even know how many times during the show, and that word is fear. There's two entities that used fear to control people from day one. That is religion, and that is rulers, kingdoms, governments. It's been shown throughout history over and over and over. And if you look at the number of times in past history that governments have done it or rulers have done it, used tactics to control people with fear, religion's done the same thing. And if you look at the number of times it's been rewritten, how many versions there are, those fear tactics are there. And they're
exactly
what a way to control the population when you put in their mind something that's going to make them feel that they'll suffer forever if they don't do it right.
Yeah.
So.
And if you look historically, when these texts were written, whether it was Muhammad or whether it was the scriptures, these were political statements.
Absolutely.
These were political treaties. They were the letters from Paul. Come on, they were. This was.
There was a mixture of politics and religion that were so ingrained and so entwined that they could not be extricated from each other.
Those were guys who wrote that stuff.
Yeah.
And it reflected the times they lived.
It did. Yeah. And it has resulted in the subjugation of women right up till today.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Correct. Yeah. And how many times did rulers
might overwrite? Come on.
How many times did rulers remove information because they didn't want it known?
That's
it didn't fit their
narrative,
their view of how people should act, so they removed it.
Yeah. And the truth is too, there's the scriptures is not, it doesn't speak univocally, it speaks multivocally. There's multiple voices in the scripture alone. Like, we often think of it as being just, one book. It's not a book. It's a library. You know what I mean? It's a library of books written by different authors at different periods of times with different theological leanings, speaking to different situations, political and otherwise. And so present in the same book, just open the book of Genesis. There's two creation accounts written by two different sources. You know,
Right.
the JEDP sources, there's the Yahwist, the Elohist, the Deuteronomist, and there's different sources. And so you can read literally one page and have two different opinions, but we sew them together and we mash them together and we're like, this is one text, but there's two different voices. And like, there are actual commandments in scripture, and the fundamentalist evangelicals will argue and they'll try to worm their way out of this doing some evangelical aerobics. But it's there. There are actual calls to sacrifice human children in the Old Testament. And then in the same Old Testament, there are scathing rebukes for those who practice such things. There are calls to sacrifice animals. Obviously, the entire book of Leviticus is basically a how-to book. And then you have the later prophets who come out and say, God doesn't want sacrifice. This was never God's plan. All God ever wanted for you was to love each other and treat each other justly. But you've got these two voices there. But it's amazing the one that we cling to. The one we cling to is the one that upholds violence, us versus them, thinking. Those are the ones we gravitate towards. And even though sometimes it's like 50-50, you can have it this way, you can have it that way, we gravitate toward the one that's going to justify our otherizing of people and our oppressing of people and our barring of women from this, that, and the other. Those are the ones that we humans tend to gravitate toward.
What do you make of that? What in the world?
Yeah.
This is bad stuff. This is horrible stuff.
It is. And I think in one sense, the document itself, the fact that those things coexist, shows that this was a community that allowed debate, that they allowed the debate. That there was, that's why Jacob was used as the figure to represent Israel, because he wrestles with God. He's literally referred to as the God fighter, and that's who they name. The nation of Israel comes from Jacob, whose name is changed to Israel. So in Jewish tradition, the argument and the debate is central to their practice, right? And that's why you can read their commentaries, and it's like, Rabbi A says this, Rabbi B says that, Rabbi C says this.
It's a beautiful book. It truly is.
And so there is a debate, but because we've made it the Word of God, because we've made it one book that we believe floated down from the clouds, autographed by Yahweh himself, and we don't see that there are two voices speaking, because it can only be one. Because if there's two voices speaking, well, then there's a contradiction. And if there's a contradiction, this isn't the Word of God. And if it's not the Word of God, I'm thrown into an existential, meat grinder. And that's the way, because we're trained in.
Oh, shit, we lost him.
Oh, Jeff.
Okay, he'll come back. No, he'll come back.
Come back.
Because this is, well, he only lives a couple of hours from here.
Jeff, do you live in Port Huron? Is that
Yes, it is. Okay, so here's the thing. We're going to wait till we can get Jeff hooked back into the show. And in the interim, Cass and I will discuss what we just heard from this brilliant man.
Well, he's doing a good job. I'll say that. I'll say that for the kid. Now, here's the thing. Why?
Hi, Tony.
Do you see how much time, and it said, for 2,000 years, has been taken up studying a text that is
sorry, guys.
I don't know.
It's okay. Can
Listen,
you hear us?
Yes.
I get so much scholarship, biblical scholarship, whether you're Jew, whatever. Over and over again, looking at these contradictions, looking at the good, looking at the bad.
Yeah.
To get my degree in philosophy, I had to study all the major world religions.
And what did you learn?
And what I learned is that I didn't buy into any of it, not any of them. And that all of the major theological texts that have ever been written have a centralized theme. And it is one version or another of the golden rule.
Exactly.
Do unto others as though you are the others.
Until you read the next passage, which says, if you really love me, sacrifice yourself.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the perennial philosophy, that's the Prisca Theologia. That's
it is.
That one perennial truth.
I wouldn't have put it that way, but I'm glad that you.
It is the Prisca Theologica. It is.
I wouldn't have put it that.
Yeah, it's one. Yeah, it is, and it's true. It's in the Bhagavad Gita. It's in the Upanishads. It's in the Quran. It's that one central truth of essentially, don't do to someone else what you don't want done to you. It's there.
And yet,
we're very bad at it.
Read on in every text, and because these are ancient texts.
Yeah.
These are times when people slaughtered animals to praise the sun, to praise God or whatever.
Threw people into volcanoes.
This is old stuff.
Yeah, and we dishonor those texts by not reading them that way. People think we honor it by trying to, read it in the context of our modern understanding of religion, and then we call ourselves faithful to Scripture. It's like, you dishonor the intents of the author. You claim whatever. It's bad history. It's bad scholarship. It's just crappy all around. It's like, I think I take a very critical approach to Scripture. Like, when I read it, and I'm reading it for historical purposes, I'm very critical when it comes to it. When I read Scripture and I'm reading it mystically and metaphorically in order to maybe find a principle to it, there's a difference there. And that's a different way of reading the text. But taking this, oh my God, religion is the only sphere where you can have zero training in how to handle an ancient text and just claim you know the author so you know how to properly interpret it. Nobody else does that except for religion. You can claim to have a direct line to the author, and so you don't know how to speak a lick of Greek or Hebrew or Aramaic, but you can read this poorly translated English verse and say that God told you that's what it means, and then you can build a whole political entity around it and what have you. And Zizek makes the point that people say, oh, and he's quoting Dostoevsky. I can't remember what book it's from, but basically he says that if the second you take God out of the picture, that any evil behavior becomes possible. And Zizek kind of turns that on his head and he says, no, once you wheel God into the picture, any evil behavior becomes possible, because now you can justify it and say you've got divine backing. And so that's what happens when you take people who don't have a lick of training. No offense to anybody. Some people don't have that luxury. It's a privilege to have that. I don't mean any offense by that. But when we glorify that by telling people, just open the Bible, point to a verse, and God will tell you what it means. And when you realize we've got people running for political office who run their lives basically through bibliomancy, I mean, that's scary. It's
very scary.
Yes, it is.
But it's been scary for
a very long time.
2,000 years.
For sure. Yep.
I don't feel that we're making great progress. I feel a tremendous sense of urgency. One of the reasons why I'm grateful to have a broader audience now that the show is in syndication. KGRA is a wonderful platform for us to go out on, to reach more people with these divine ideas. I wanted to, and I feel sure you've read it already. But there's a wonderful book by Christopher Hitchens called God is Not Great.
Yes. Yeah.
And, for those that want to explore this, pull it up. I gave a copy of it in hardbound to Cass as soon as it came out. No, it was my mother I gave it to. Okay, let me see. This is, you can open this book to virtually any page and be inspired by his words. Be absolutely enthralled by his language and, the beauty with which he writes.
Yeah.
But the message makes you explore all aspects of any belief system that you ever began, to ingrain or have ingrained within you, or God forbid that you were indoctrinated with.
Yeah.
And he can undo it in a sentence.
Yeah.
In a sentence.
Yep.
And I believe in that kind of fracturing.
Yeah.
I think that, our religious belief systems, for their disparities, for their similarities, for it all falls under one umbrella. Mm-hmm. And I think that what I'm doing with UFOs and my study and my work with this is that I don't worship them. I honor them. And I know that they're around us, and I know that they're with us, and I'm so good with that. But I do not I do not elevate them in that way. And I think that religion, by and large, asks you to believe in something that you cannot see, to believe in something that you cannot touch tangibly, that you cannot have. It is having faith in something that you're told exists, but that you cannot see.
Kierkegaard.
Leap of faith, Kierkegaard. My experience is that I am connected with and consciously interacting with something that I do know exists and that I can see. And that's the difference. So for me, it could never be a religion. It is a communication. And that's different. And I think that if people feel God in them, they feel that core of pure white light, that goodness, that strength, that bravery, that pure of heart view of the world, that love is the answer, that love is the way, that, that light defies darkness, that good conquers evil. If you're in that camp, it's okay to fracture your belief systems because you've already done that to get where you are now, to get right where you are now. That's not our dog barking.
No, that's mine.
It's your dog?
She's on the other side of the door trying to get my attention here.
Well, we did a little doggy show and tell earlier. You missed it. I'm sorry.
I'd let mine in, but she's big. She'd knock everything over.
That's
Charlotte is 9 pounds of tubular Yorkshire Terrier.
Nice. Aw.
She's asleep. We cannot wake her.
She's snoring on the sofa.
We cannot wake her. No.
Jeff,
yes.
I hear that you live in Port Huron. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
I know that area. My parents retired to Port Sanilac, just up the road.
Beautiful.
So I wonder, what are you doing? Are you teaching? What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Where does one go to hear you speak?
Well, for about the last year, I have not really done much because of COVID. Prior to that, however, I was gone pretty much every weekend. I do speak at several churches in Michigan. But I'd usually be on a plane heading out somewhere to speak. At the moment, I am mostly focusing on my writing and recording podcasts and things like that. Although the whole speaking thing is kind of picking up, and I'm kind of planning more out for 2022. I'm kind of enjoying my little forced hiatus while it's still a possibility throughout 2021. Yeah. And then in 22, we'll get back on the road. But I was teaching. I had a group on Tuesday night where I taught it for a season and, kind of felt it was time to pull that back, but something may open up again in the future where I feel to do something, more local again. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Well, I hope that you will, and I'm saying this for myself, through this one, Annie, let me know,
this one,
Cass, when that's going to happen, because I would, I'd like to be there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I told you she would want to meet you. I told you this would be wonderful.
Yeah, the feeling is mutual.
And I think it's a important conversation to have. Yeah. Especially at this time, because a lot of people, are holding on when so much has been stripped away and so many people have lost so much. There are an awful lot of people right now that are clinging to their faith to get them through a very difficult time in life. Yeah. And many more that are having to turn to it to get them through the loss of a loved one.
Sure.
COVID has already, the number is up officially over 750,000. It's far more than that. Many, many people have died as a complication of this disease. That will never be listed as casualties of it. But the fact is that we've lost worldwide people that touched our lives and even created our lives. Our parents have been lost to it, siblings, children, and this is not over. So I think that it's important for us to talk about these issues and, where is your attachment? is it within you? Is it truly all within you? I feel that it is all within us, that we are the creation watching its own creation around us, that we are each a living, breathing embodiment of whatever created us. And that's as far as I can go with it.
Yeah.
But I do believe that there was creation and that we are a byproduct of it.
Yeah. No, I believe that.
May I say that, the isolation of the last year, I think, has brought, rare and unexpected insights. As difficult as some of it was. And it was. I mean, a complete rupture of our routines, no matter who we were, what our circumstance. And yet, there was something going on about introspection, if you will, about not having the freedoms that we especially, I mean, how privileged are we? Come on. We're like the most privileged people on the earth. But we still, our freedoms, the ones we'd enjoy, were stripped away. We just couldn't go wherever we wanted to. We couldn't engage with others. We had to
insulate and isolate.
But we had to kind of look inward, didn't we? And self reevaluation. Just kind of learn how to feed ourselves.
Yeah.
So there's good to come out of these unbelievable
absolutely. Yeah.
And tragedy brings growth, doesn't it? And change.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So no matter I feel the next decade is pivotal for not just this country, although I think it's critical for this country. But that's kind of a small piece of the pie compared to the globe.
I think over the last decade, we're going to see the blossoming of the seeds that were sown in this last year plus, where people who were allowed to be alone with their thoughts, some of them for the first time in decades.
Indeed. Or ever.
The grind of the 9 to 5 came to a halt. For some, or they're working from home and they're all kinds of different things, and for some, this is the first chance they've had at introspection, and things that, I can tell you for myself, because I do my work, I do my writing, I do my ministry or whatever you want to call it, work that I do. But I work a day job at the time to keep the lights on and the lunch is packed and all that good stuff. And so, that can be overwhelming at times doing all of this and, leaving for the week, working all week, leaving for the weekend, coming home on Monday and doing it all over again. And, I was kind of even getting to a point last year. I was like, all right, I am so done with this bullshit. I want, I was like, I've had enough of all this. Let's sell everything and go move in the middle of nowhere. I don't care. One room.
You didn't even mention kids and a wife. Or taking care of the house or whatever, all that other stuff. That still had to go on.
Totally. But for me personally, because my day job I work, I was able to do mostly from home. And I was like, I got like 2 books almost written in that period of time. I launched it. I got so much. And not only that, but like I re-tapped into my roots in Christian mystical practice, which I have not really messed with in years. And it's like my meditative life and everything went next level this last year. And it was just because I had the time, this year my life transformed over this last year. And I'm a person who does a lot of inner work, even when I'm totally booked, you know what I mean? But just that extra bit of time. So I think the next decade, we're going to see the blossoming of seeds that were sown in this last year. And, it's going to be shocking, some of what comes out of this, I really believe.
And I would almost say we have to see those seeds blossom.
Yes.
This is like really crunch time.
Yep.
This is the paradigm shift. This is the time in the course of human evolution where nothing is the same again on the other side of it. That I believe that I really think that we're just coming to the beginning the end of the beginning of this, that this is a very long, enduring process that will continue to breed civil unrest, geopolitical unrest, social unrest.
And how to manage that, because we know change takes time.
Yeah.
Right.
Change does take time, no matter how it's accelerated in our lifetimes. Fine, well, that again, seriously. But change does take time. And how do we manage the chaos as we assimilate the change? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Jeffrey?
Yes.
It's a pleasure.
Oh, pleasure was all mine. Yeah.
Are you bowing
I
out
think I
gracefully?
am, and I'm going to let you guys wrap up your, because I don't have anything to say about UFOs.
Okay.
Except booyah. You know,
Booyah. She liked my book.
Go blue.
It's all I care about. She liked my book, and go blue.
There you go.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. It was
and
a
Tony,
pleasure.
thank you.
Yes.
All right, and so she's out of here.
All
I'm
right.
gone.
Okay. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about this whole notion of your experience at the UFO con and what you got out of that, because everything told me that you had to be there, that you needed to be a contributor to this, that it was an important milestone for you. All right, another thing just moved through the room, Cass.
That was me.
I did.
No,
see that.
it wasn't you. It was a blue light that just went across behind my head, just flew across the room the other way, that way. Well, I saw it. It was there. I don't know if anybody else saw it, but I saw it.
I did. I saw it. Yeah.
Okay, Jeff saw it. Yeah, they're in the house. They're in the house with us. Cass is not doing it. She's like, "Are you taking them with you when you leave? I just need to know."
I'm doing fine with them.
Okay, she said she's doing fine with them. Okay, all right. Okay, Jonathan saw it too. Other people saw it, Cass. You just weren't looking. Yep. Okay. Well, so that's been happening all night, even before we even started the show. So, yes, I know. Well, Erin, yeah, she just doesn't see it. She's okay. I have to tell you, one night, I guess it was probably about maybe 7 years ago, about 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, Cass and I were driving together into Villa Rica, and we come off, and we had just been arguing about my quote unquote belief in UFOs. And we pull off of I-20 west heading toward Alabama and pull into the exit for Villa Rica, Georgia. And there, right over town, right directly over where the post office would be, is this big, huge thing in the sky that's flashing all kinds of different colors, and it's absolutely beautiful. And we're driving by, and I'm completely mesmerized. And I wouldn't say to her, look over, I wouldn't, because like we had already gotten to the point in the conversation where we're not talking about this anymore.
It wasn't that.
And it was right there. And then 2 days or 3 days later, it came up on YouTube. Somebody had stopped their car on the overpass of I-20 and filmed it.
Wow.
And listed it as the time in Villa Rica, Georgia. And it was right over town. And they filmed it, and they had a 3 or 4 minute long film of this thing, which is an enormous amount of time for them to hang around. And it was just right over the village.
Wow.
And so I felt, that was one of those times that I felt really vindicated. And I wish that I had said to her, look at that. And you know what? I don't know if she would have seen it.
That's the thing.
I don't know if she would have seen it.
I'm not a sensitive.
Yeah.
And so, there's that opportunity missed. And yet maybe, and my father saw something the other night that blew him away. And he's like, look at it. It's a triangle. It's right over the house. It's a perfect triangle, and it's moving really slowly to the east. And I'm like, Dad, I can't see it. I don't see it. I don't know why that happens, but it does. And many people will tell you that sightings can be precarious. And some of us are supposed to see certain things, and some of us are supposed to be others, which is why I encourage everybody to keep your camera handy. Because if there's somebody that's standing next to you that is really at their core fearful about what they're out there doing, it will diminish the returns in a huge way. So, but they'll come right through your phone. Or if you close your eyes, they'll come right through your eyelids where you can see movement and lights and stuff going on that you don't need your eyes to see. And it's that process of the opening of the third eye and that illumination. And I don't consider it mystical at all. I don't. I consider, like, when Christine's playing her bowls, brings this incredible feeling of that music that she makes with her crystal bowls. It touches something in me that I can't describe, but it doesn't make anything happen or not happen. It's just it's the frosting on the lovely cake. Mm-hmm. For me, I'm going to see it regardless. Yeah. But if it puts people in the right mindset, in the right, music has a way of changing us physiologically. Yeah. Cass and I were talking today about how much we enjoy Gregorian chants. Mm-hmm. They're absolutely beautiful. They're 600, 700 years old. This music is absolutely ethereal. Yeah. It's heavenly, if there is such a thing. And how it makes us feel. Mm-hmm. And how it liberates our consciousness to think and to go elsewhere and to grow and to expand. So, ultimately, they say happiness is an inside job. Well, spirituality is too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And you've spent an inordinate amount of your life dwelling within in prayer. An inordinate amount of time. Do you wish you had that time back?
I do in some ways, but I also know I wouldn't cherish time the way that I do now had I not gone through those experiences. I cherish time in a way now that, my oldest is graduating this year, which is insane to me. My son is turning 16 in a few months. Time, there are a lot of those years where I was still doing my thing that were kind of lost, I suppose. There were memories that could have been made that weren't. There were connections that could be there that aren't. I do regret that, but I don't know that I ever could have gotten it had I not absolutely burned myself out. I just don't know that I could have. You know what I mean? I don't think anyone could have sat me down and told me, you need to change and do this. I'm an experiencer, and so I had to experience that hitting the wall and crashing and burning, I think. I really do. So I regret it. I wish I had it back, but at the same time, I'm learning to just believe that everything belongs. Everything is one whole, and I am all of that. And I can't regret it because there's no way to go back. I'm just here in the now. And I love my former self, the crazy, insane, jacked up fundamentalist guy who I would not want to sit across from the table with and have coffee with. I love him because I know he did his best. I know he did the best he could with what he had. And it made him a jerk. But I also know he tried his best. So I love that guy, and I try to not regret it, because when I regretted it, it can put me in a negative headspace, and I try to stay out of those. But I just don't think I could have appreciated time now had it not been for those times. I don't know. But I have certainly looked back and thought, God, what I wouldn't give to go back And one of those moments when I drove up to the church at night to pray in the sanctuary for 3 hours, where I could have been rolling around on the floor with my kids and wrestling. Many times I think that what I wouldn't give to go back and just see what I missed, you know. But if I can be a lesson to anyone, it's just know that the God that you're out there looking for is, first of all, right here and at hand. You're not going to find anything in a chapel that you can't find in the laughter of your kid. You're not going to find anything bowing at an altar that you can't find by just looking within. And so let my life be a lesson, I suppose. And maybe you're one like me who can't, who's an experiencer and has to experience it for yourself too. But if I can soften the ground at all, you know, I can just tell you that what you're looking for is at hand. It's within. It's all around you. You're breathing it in. You're in it. You live and move and have your being in this thing. It's not out there. It's right here. And until you can slow down and be still, you won't, you know, I don't know. Yeah.
I know. I think it's an interesting dichotomy. It's almost ironic that we have to go within to see without.
Yeah.
That we have to, you know, in the same way that it's so ironic that with coronavirus, the only way you could tell somebody how much you love them was to stay the hell away from them. Yeah. Don't breathe on them. Don't get near them. You know, it taught us a lot. I think we all have a deeper sense of appreciation.
Oh yeah.
Being able to be together, and we shouldn't make any mistakes. You know, we cannot be inured by this. This is not over. I think on the other end of it, on the other side, on the far side of this, we will begin to approach a true realization of oneness, that we truly are all in this together, that, you know, we faced this as a world race. None of us had any immunity to it. All of us were susceptible equally. That before it's over, we'll all know someone who lost their life to it, or we'll know someone who lost someone they loved to it. And that is, I think, an inevitability, but I also think that it's cracking us open. It's breaking our hearts.
Yes.
It's bringing us to back to empathy, which I think a lot of human beings had abandoned or discarded as useless to them.
Yeah.
And I think that ultimately we're becoming more spiritual. I'm watching CNN the other day, and they've got a poll up about how many people have increased their sightings of Cass. Excuse me just a minute. Honey, are you walking around in your jammies? Because you show on the screen. Oh, I'm just not for nothing. Would you like a robe?
No.
Okay.
I'm good. No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, and you know, and there you go.
Here I go.
I completely lost my train of thought. What a great way to end this.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh my God. She's like, she forgets there's, you know, a camera on in the house.
I love
it. My girl, she's so sweet. So yeah, you know, I think that coming to a realization of oneness is part of settling in to the paradigm shift, an acknowledgement that nothing is ever going to be the same on the other side of this, an acknowledgement that we have all grown and learned and hurt through all of this. And that we've begun, I think, in a broader way to care about each other more. But I was saying, I was watching CNN the other day, and the poll was about UFOs. And one of the questions was, have you had any kind of a sighting in the last year? And that number was up 20% from the year before. And it makes you wonder, is it because people had more solitary time and could walk around in their backyards and look up at the sky and go, oh my God, what the fuck is going on down here?
Right.
You know, or if we're just getting, you know, more in tune.
Right. Be still and know. You can't know if you lack that stillness, right? And it's like, whether the stillness puts you like in the same vibration as whatever it is you're seeing, or it's just a matter of having the time to see it. I don't know, but I mean, yeah, no, absolutely. That's amazing. And it's happening in all areas. You know what I mean? It's spirituality in general.
Yes.
The number of people that I have coming to me, like from the Christian world, who are just like, I had such a crazy paradigm shift this last year. I've come to know whatever. I mean, crazy world changing, life altering stuff for them, down to, like you said, people having sightings. I mean, it's just been a universal worldwide thing in every area, because people are actually able to be still and to know and get in touch with something other than the 9 to 5 and the daily grind and the things that we've been trained to think life is all about, but that life is not really all about. It's like, amidst all the chaos, and there was chaos aplenty, there was beauty to be found. And
yes.
Yeah. Anyways.
Well, Tony, why don't you come back in? We have 5 minutes left. I know we had a lot of, where did we lose Jeff? Where'd he go?
I don't know.
Make him come back.
I will add him back in as soon as he shows back up.
Okay. Where'd he go? Jeff, come back. Yeah, because I want him to tell people how they can find him, reach out to him, read his brilliant words, and connect with him. Yeah, I hope that he rejoins us. But I know that there was a lot of commentary in the chat room tonight.
A ton. There was a ton. I didn't put most of them up just because, the conversation between the three of you was very enthralling, and I didn't want to post the interruptions. All three of you can go through and because there was some great stuff said, some great stuff by the audience.
Good. I'm very glad. Well, I hope that we can get Jeff back. Did you message him to come back? We still have a couple of minutes. Yeah, message him and tell him to come back. He wasn't supposed to just disappear. But I'm very grateful to him that he came, and that I see a beautiful friendship with Cass, with Jeff as well too, because they've got a lot in common in unusual ways. So I want to thank everybody that joined in with us tonight. I want to thank everybody that's watching the show every week. We appreciate it very much. Many thanks to Jeff Turner, to Cassandra Ormiston, to my producer Tony Rathman, to KGRA. It was a delightful sojourn this evening, Tony. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. And like I said, the conversation between yourself, Cass, and Jeff was absolutely fantastic. But what intrigued me the most, and I even told the audience, I think that's a moth. But when I asked you guys and you said, no, there's no moth here, I am so excited to go through this episode and see what that is, because it was through the whole thing. And it was the majority of time revolving around Cass.
Yeah. Yeah, but she doesn't believe that it was there and she didn't see it. But we have viewers that did. Oh, I wish we had been recording prior to actually going live, because that's when it was most prominent. That was huge, and it was right. It went in front of Cass, and then it went around her head and right by the camera. It was absolutely fascinating. Okay, so Jeff says he's trying to get back in. What do we got for time? Maybe a minute. Yeah, let's see, 53. So we've got about a minute. He said he's trying. He got booted. He did. Well, that was weird, though. That was weird because, I didn't think that he, it was bringing you back in, not putting him out. Right. So and it shouldn't have had any. It shouldn't have done that. No, it shouldn't have. Well, maybe the universe said, okay, Mr. Turner, tonight, all right, with you and Ms. Ormiston, enough. People's heads are going to explode. But anyway, I want to thank Jeff for coming on the show tonight. And it's so lovely spending time with Cass. I can't tell you what a joy it has been. Wow. I love Michigan, even when it is the frozen tundra. And it's going down to 26 degrees tonight in Ann Arbor. So, I've got my T-shirt, no matter where I roam. Harrisville will always be my home. One of my readers made this for me. Isn't that lovely? Okay, so we'll end with, I know we're running out of time. We'll end with the message of thanks. And the message from the Galactic family is, be not afraid. Be not afraid. Be not afraid. There is nothing to fear here.